BMW is on an EV roll lately. The iX and i4 are great sport luxury EVs, and as we gear up for the release of the i7 sedan in the United States, the German automaker decided we needed a faster version of its electric SUV. This is the BMW iX M60, the second performance M vehicle that is an electric vehicle from BMW. Now it has more power, more speed, and better suspension than the regular iX. And we're going to be driving this vehicle from Germany through Switzerland and through Austria all the way down to Italy over the next few days. Typically during one of these drive programs, I'll get the car for a day, maybe a day and a half, which means that I almost never have to worry about charging. They don't set the route up where I have to charge in the middle. They'll set the route up so that at the end of the day, I turn the vehicle over with 10–20% or so, and then they'll shuffle us off to eat some food. On this program, because I'm driving from today, for example, from Berlin to Munich, and then tomorrow from Munich to Italy, I have to charge the vehicle on the way. So that's new and actually better. But it's also a chance for me to tell you that's why I'm wearing a different shirt. I'm gonna be wearing 3 different shirts because this video will be shot over 3 different days. I'm not changing every hour. Before we get to the charging, which I'm still, how many kilometers? I don't know, a bunch. 217 kilometers away, which is about 125 miles. Let's talk about the fact that this is an M. Well, it is quicker. Right now I'm on the Autobahn. I'm doing 200 kilometers an hour, which legally you can do. At this speed and higher, the vehicle does get a little floaty, even though it does have enhanced M air suspension, so it's a bit tighter. It's made for more performance driving, but there's only so much you can do when you're dealing with the heft of a battery pack and the fact that this is a very tall vehicle. It feels planted, it doesn't feel unsafe, but you can feel it floating. But more importantly, you're never going to, well, you never should encounter this on American roads. I'm on the German Autobahn where legally I'm allowed to go this fast and everyone gets out of the way and everyone follows the rules. In the United States, no one does any of that stuff. Producing all that power are 2 motors driving the all-wheel drive SUV with up to 619 horsepower and 811 pound-feet of torque. BMW says that in launch mode, the iX M60 can go from 0 to 60 in 3.6 seconds. While it has essentially the same design, both exterior and interior, just adding that M power didn't reduce the amount of tech in this vehicle. The BMW iX M60 comes with 3 modes. You have the personal mode, which is just the regular mode you drive around town. It has an efficient mode if you're trying to save battery, or if you're on a long trip, you're just sitting on the highway, just throw it in efficient. And then, of course, because it's an M, as you want to go fast, there is the sport mode. Coming soon is the over-the-air update of 2 additional modes, relaxing and expressive modes. Now, these do not change how the vehicle actually drives, but instead add new color schemes and sounds. The over-the-air update will be available for all iXs. Speaking of modes, if you are, let's say you're just driving around and you're using the BMW assistant, the voice assistant, you can do things like, "Hey BMW, I'm bored."
I can't imagine that you're bored. Maybe you haven't had the chance to try sport mode yet. Should I activate it?
Yes.
Sure, I will activate sport mode. I hope you enjoy it.
There you go. The friendly vehicle will put you in sport mode, and then it will give you a special display in the center that shows you your Newton meters, your kilowatts, the battery temperature. In the United States, this information would be horsepower and torque. But either way, you can just tell the car, "Man, I am not having a good time." And it will say, "You know what? You need sport mode." And then it will put it in sport mode for you. Overall, the interior is exactly what you find in the regular iX. You have these very comfortable seats. It's very forward-looking. It's closer to the i3 than, say, the i4, which the i4 uses the more traditional 4 Series sedan layout. This is very future-looking. The seats are still comfortable again. The materials are nice. I am still not a fan of this headrest that is not adjustable. It's just part of the seat. And of course you have the crystals. You have the crystals for the seat controls and the crystal right here in the middle for the infotainment knob. And again, if the sun hits it just right, you get a rainbow in your eye. That brings us to actually controlling the features in the vehicle. Now overall, I like the new updated BMW infotainment system, but there are a few little quirks. For example, if I put it in the My mode, which is the mode selection, and I select a mode, it stays on the splash screen for that mode. It doesn't go back to the navigation, it doesn't go back to media, it doesn't go back to CarPlay, it doesn't go back to anything you were using before you changed the drive mode. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that you can't actually change the modes unless it's on the touchscreen. So you hit the mode button, but you can't change the modes by hitting this button. It just goes back and forth within the mode you're in. You have to actually, if I'm right now, I'm in efficient mode. If I want to go into sport mode, I have to hit My modes and then tap on sport. That's an extra tap that you probably shouldn't have to do.
The same thing goes for seat controls. Regular forward, back, and tilt controls are on the door, but fine-tuning things like lumbar and side bolster, those require using the touchscreen. Now, I'm sure most people actually set up their seats before they drive, but for folks like me, well, we like to adjust the seat just a little bit during long drives, and in order to do that, we'll need to use the touchscreen.
BMW does give you access to a lot of fine-tuning of the settings via the infotainment system. The only issue is that, well, there's a lot of settings and it'll take a few days in order for you to sort of sort out where everything is. That's not necessarily a bad thing because you do have all that access, but it can get easy to sort of get lost in the system.
On the driver assistance front, BMW recently introduced adapted settings for regenerative braking and follow distance.
As for adaptive regenerative braking, initially, well, frankly, I wasn't a fan. I didn't like it on the i4, I didn't like it on the iX. It felt inconsistent. There were times when I felt like it should have been braking when it wasn't. There were times when it braked when I didn't anticipate it. I just did not like it. On the iX M60 though, it feels as though BMW has been updating and tweaking the system, and there should be an over-the-air update. I'm sure that'll come to those other vehicles. But both on the Autobahn and driving around Munich and Berlin, it actually works quite well. It does. I don't feel that inconsistency. I don't feel like it's not doing what it's supposed to do when I encounter other vehicles trying to come to a stop. If you are not a fan of adaptive regenerative braking, there is still the traditional system, and you have 3 levels. And on the third most hardcore regenerative level, you can create up to 220 kilowatts of power that goes back to the battery.
The iX M60 has the same battery pack as the regular iX, with 111.5 kilowatt hours of gross capacity and 106.3 kilowatt hours of capacity available to the vehicle at all times. As you would expect though, all that extra power means less range. BMW is targeting an EPA range of 280 miles. Meanwhile, the regular iX has a range up to 324 miles. So in other words, if you want to go faster, you're going to lose about 44 miles of range. Keeping the battery charged, BMW uses a 400-volt system that supports DC fast charging up to 195 kilowatts. On our trip through Europe, I saw charging speeds up to 190 kilowatts. Now, your experience may vary depending on your charging stations you come in contact with. But after hours of being on the road, pulling over and taking a lunch break for about 30 minutes while the vehicle recharged was a nice break. Still, I do wish BMW had invested in an 800-volt system for higher charging speeds.
While the exterior looks essentially the same, there are some subtle differences, including M badging and these larger 17-inch blue brake calipers. In addition to making sure this is an electric vehicle, BMW actually builds this in a factory that is powered by 100% renewable energy, and the battery manufacturing also powered by 100% renewable energy.
The BMW iX M60 will land in the United States this June with a starting price of $105,000.
So if you're looking for a large electric SUV that has M-Power, the iX M60 might be the vehicle you want to check out. For more automotive coverage from 4 different European countries, be sure to subscribe to Engadget.